I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up. Then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest knows how to take the pressure off busy teams by delivering creative, high-impact events that drive attendance, boost revenue, and reduce burnout. Lauren is the co-founder of LMH Experiences, where she's rethinking how companies plan and execute events. With over a decade of experience across major corporations, startups, and now her own venture, she's built an enterprise planning platform designed for corporate events, sales, and field marketing teams, making it easier to capture attention and deliver results. Lauren isn't just an event expert. She's a builder, strategist, and operator focused on saving companies time, money, and bandwidth. LMH Experiences manages the full planning process while delivering insights that make every future event smarter. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Lauren, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you so much for spending the time. And listen, I want to jump right into this because this is usually my first question with all of our guests is, your origin story. What got you super exciting and passionate? Because most people say, don't say when they're kids, I'm going to go to school to run events, or I'm going to go to school to do sales, or I'm going to go to school to do marketing. Usually it's, I'm going to be a fireman, or I'm going to be, a police officer. So walk me through how you got here and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, well, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited. Yeah, I would say from a young age, I've always been an entrepreneur. I used to love a garage sale with my money box, collecting all my dollars, putting out new marketing and branding of what I was going to be selling that week. So when it came time to go to college, I thought, well, what can I do that kind of, brings that into light? And so I had a business degree, and I was lucky enough to have some really, really interesting internships throughout university. One of which was interning on American Idol. And that really just made me fall in love with not just events, but like creating experiences for people and seeing all of that come together and what it could really do for someone, leaving a lasting impact on them and making something that people were excited to attend or to talk about after. So that's what kind of gave me the bug to get into events. And then from there, I did what everyone does. We go from super exciting American Idol to commercial real estate. And that was my first job out of school, working in Manhattan for a national corporate real estate company. I was traveling kind of all over the US, getting to do a variety of different events from large scale trade shows to multi-day road shows. Really taught me kind of everything a part of the events industry. So that's what got me going and got me excited about events and experiences.
I love that. And looking back, what do you think the first event taught you about the industry that you still carry with you today?
Yeah, I think some of my first events at my first job in Manhattan kind of taught me how to do a lot of things at the same time. Like events is a lot about multitasking, but not just being busy or frantic, multitasking in a really streamlined and prioritized way. So it taught me how to kind of say no to people when I needed to say no to them, tell people, to do things when I needed them to do something. It taught me how to interact with people, and events is so much about relationships and people. So I think I've carried that throughout my career, and I'm still learning like how to interact with different types of personalities and different events and vendors and venues and CEOs and all the different roles. They all require different interpersonal skills, and so that's something that I learned from the very beginning. I'm still learning.
Awesome. So large corporations you worked with, startups you worked with, but now you're a founder, right? So what was that moment in time that said, you know what? I'm going to go out, I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to go ahead and be my own boss. There had to be some sort of right experience usually, or something that kind of shaped that decision early on. What was that for you?
Yeah, I think I had always wanted to do my own thing. I think that's when you're younger, it's a scary thing to do, right? Especially when you have no one financially backing you, you need a job, you need that steady income, the reliability of it. Um, so for me, it wasn't necessarily me making the initial decision, it was more of a catalyst. So I was actually on maternity leave for my first or for my second job. And I was unfortunately laid off, which is not great, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it gave me some space away from the craziness of day-to-day event planning and allowed me to really think, okay, like what do I want to do? And really take a little bit of a risk and a little bit of a leap and have some headspace to do that. So yeah.
Well, let's double down on that because it's hard, right? Our shows do hard things, and starting a business is hard, getting laid off is hard, and obviously rethinking what you want to do in your next chapter is hard. How hard of a decision was it? And I know you said it's kind of a blessing in disguise when that happened. How grateful are you now that you made that decision?
Yeah, I'm so grateful. And I think the lesson that I learned from that is I made that decision initially because it sounded fun. And I think that's something I carry through for the rest of my life is I do things that sound fun. And then from there I figure out how to make money from them. Because if you just try to figure out how to make money initially, like it always is going to have a little bit of a, it's not going to feel like something that you're really doing for yourself or a decision that you've made for yourself. So, yeah, I always start with, does that sound fun? Okay, like let's let's see if we can make money from it. So I think that's a good lesson that I learned of, trust your gut. If it sounds fun, do it. It all works out.
I love that. And I know that planning can get very overwhelming for a lot of people and frustrating when it comes to large events. They're typically known for high pressure, detail obsessed. Did you ever hit a point where you're like, this is too much? And what made you get through that?
Yeah. Yeah, lots of times, like all the time. I think the best thing is having people on your team and in your network and people you're working with that you trust. Because the thing that makes events stressful is when you try to do everything yourself. So you have to have a team and you have to know how to delegate to that team. And then you have to know how to trust the team that you're delegating to. So I think that's something that I'm always still learning and is hard for event planners because we're type A personalities, right? Like we're detail oriented. We're control freaks. That's what makes us successful at planning these things that have so many different logistical components to them. So I've really worked to build a team and a network of vendors, venues, all of the components that go into an event where I know if I have X, Y, and Z on this event, I don't need to worry about those things. Like they've got it. Um, so I think when you're overwhelmed, knowing that you have a team you can go to and kind of all come at it, all hands on deck and figure it out together, that just makes things, so much better.
So you're telling me you're not the only control freak in the world? Because I thought I was the only one in the world.
Yeah, we feel like most control freaks think that, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, let's talk about some invisible skills, right? Because what we notice when we're talking to entrepreneurs is whether it's event planning or whether it's another business, usually there's those invisible skills that you have to develop early on that really no one talks about. So, is it different than, maybe other businesses than event planning? I'm not sure, but what are some of those invisible skills that you had to really develop early on that, again, no one tells you about or no one talks about that you had to really find and hold on to build the business?
Yeah, I think you know, as much as you can put together a to-do list and check things off for an event, there's a portion of a successful experience for people that is not like on paper. It's like a feeling when you're there, right? So that's something that you have to learn how to, and I think it comes from being on site at events or being present during virtual events where you have to learn how to read a room almost and read your stakeholders at the event to understand like before they even come to you with an issue or a problem, you kind of already have your like spidey sense and you know that something's off here and you're already fixing it before they present it to you. So I think that's something that I've learned, and it's been one of those skills where you don't really know it's a skill until you're like, oh yeah, that's something I'm doing. And people kind of don't understand that you're doing that, but that's that glue that's like holding the entire experience together for everyone behind the scenes. And really good event planners, that's a skill that they have.
I love about when you said read the room, right? Because events to me is that, it's people in a room. That's essentially, I guess, the most basic term or sentence you can say about an event, whether it's virtual or in person. So where did you learn that? Is that something you've evolved as you got into the business, or do you feel like you've always been able to read a room in before you started the business?
Definitely with experience of just being at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of events. And I think especially when you start kind of at the ground up in events and you sit at a registration table for 8 hours a day and you're checking people in, you're dealing with complaints, you're communicating with the kitchen when food's running late. You're really doing like every task. You just slowly build up, I think, your the nuances of the events and how they fit together. And that skill builds the more you do it.
Awesome. And so I have a question. We've been talking, the events are a lot about the experiences, how everyone's feeling at it. But what's the hardest part of building those experiences that not only run well, but also deliver ROI? And how are clients coming to you and wanting their ROI shown?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like, especially in the climate today, ROI, improving ROI on events is like number one priority, right? Like, whether it's an event that you're doing for sales enablement or pipeline generation, or you're doing it to, you know, make a team collaborate more and deal with employee attrition, like events are really all about money. Like they're about generating money, not losing money. So proving ROI is really important for us. And we love to understand our clients' goals when they come to us. So a question we'll ask a lot is, what does success for this event look like to you? Like, what are your goals at your company that you're trying to meet this year? How does this event fit within that? So then when we understand what ROI looks like to them, then we can build the event out to meet that ROI. And then on top of that, we're of course doing reporting and putting together all the data so they can see, how many people did you invite? How many people actually showed up? What was the engagement rate like during the event? All of those factors are really key, and they're great information to gather so that next time you go to plan the event, you can make it better because you understand what was successful for you previously.
Well, let's double down on that because, our entrepreneurs, our audience members are listening, like they want to make more money. And I think this is transferable in any business. So, when you have an event that doesn't do well, you have a story or a situation where, or an example where you had an event, it didn't make the money, maybe didn't, maybe cost money. And then, what went wrong? And then did you do it again and have another event similar or for that organization or company? And then it became successful. Like what caused that?
Yeah, I think that's, doing events at volume and at scale is the best because it really helps us be able to try different things. We can A/B test things like, does this work better on a Tuesday versus a Thursday? Does this work better as a happy hour or a lunch and learn? Is this better as a virtual format or an in-person format? So our clients who we are most successful with work with us at scale because we can be an extension of their team. We can fully understand their event scope and then play within it to try to get the best ROI out of their events. On a one-off event, I think, we use our knowledge from past events and other clients that we work with to really be like experts in the space for our, for new clients. So they come to us and we can say, hey, we've done 500 of these. We know that the best agenda format is this. We're happy to change it, based on your needs or whatever, but we have like a base point to go off of to tee them up for success as best as we can.
Right.
And similar to us, like you just said, you're really an extension of your clients' teams. What does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, I mean, we work with clients in a variety of ways. Some we do one big event a year with. Some we are literally their go-to person for anything events. They'll say, hey, I've got 60K I need to spend before the end of the month. What should we do? And that's the best. But you know, we like to do all aspects of events. And a lot of people will say, okay, an event, you're just calling a venue and booking a date and, making sure people show up. But really, there's so much more that goes into it. Facilitating their sales teams to understand, okay, what markets are we going to do events in this quarter? Is there any overlap between cities or reps or demographics? How are we marketing the event? Creating invites and registration pages, monitoring them that they're hitting the, audience levels that they'd like to get for the event. Working with management to understand like the bigger picture and the broader scope of their event strategy. And then yes, of course, like executing the actual events. But like that's kind of the easy part, right? That's what we're experts in. So and then after reporting, event follow-up, all of that. So it's really from A to Z, the full journey of an event for a company.
And when I think of events and all the events I've gone to, and it's been quite a lot, there's a lot that I don't remember and I didn't get anything from or wasn't fun or wasn't valuable. And then there's those ones that are just like, wow, like I got to come back if they ever do this again. Or, I hope I want to go back next weekend and have them do it all over again. So walk me through like what is that it factor, if you will, that separates an event that people remember versus just attend?
Yeah. It's a good question because I feel like there's a lot of money wasted by companies on events where they think, let's just get people in a room. That's it. Like, let's do our presentation. They'll have a couple cocktails and then we'll call it a day. And we really like to say to companies, like, okay, you did that. It cost you 10K. Look what we could have done for you for 10K. Really putting a spin on it to make it an experience versus just an event. And the main kind of underlying factor for whether it's virtual, hybrid, in person, is just great content, good storytellers, really creatively packaging the event so that it's not just like happy hour at XYZ restaurant on this date. Well, no, we're going to do custom kicks and conversation where we're going to bring in an expert sneakerhead to talk about, how that drives cybersecurity and, like themes that you think you could never throw together. We love to throw them together because people think, wow, what's that? Like that, I would never, think that pairing was going to go together. I'm intrigued. Like maybe I'll show up. Our biggest compliment is when people come to events and they say, wow, that was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. Or, no, haven't really seen one like this before. So I think that's our secret sauce is we spend a lot of time and energy just finding interesting people who have stories to share or interesting venues and formats that are outside of the norm. Like we don't ever really like to do just a happy hour. If we're going to do a happy hour, it's going to be at a retailer where you can do private shopping and you're going to get a branded take home, something that's going to be out of the ordinary so that the whole purpose of the event is so that the attendees remember the brand or the message that they got.
Right.
So really just thinking creatively, and that's my favorite part of what I do is just coming up with ideas that are different and are gonna really get our clients what they're looking for.
How do you think content can be used to cut through the noise and really create that memorable event experience?
Yeah, I think the content is great. I think before the actual event, like a lot of people struggle getting people to come to the events. So I think finding the right content to share, but then marketing it correctly, and packaging it correctly is kind of one of the most important things that you can do. Really making it stand out to people. People are bombarded with invitations to events, webinars, etc. You need to stick out in some way. And our team has kind of come up with the secret sauce of how to market events in the way that people want to show up. And then not only do they want to show up, they want to stay on the event and they want to actually listen when they're on it.
So let's switch up gears here and kind of talk purpose and legacy because, you know, you and I both been in corporate America before being business owners. So usually in corporate America, your boss, your manager, the company gives you carrots, and that's what keeps you moving forward and motivated. But when you're the founder, the owner, you gotta have to provide your own carrots to keep you going. I call it your why, right? So, and it's unique because everyone has different reasons to drive and different reasons to move forward. So what is yours, and how did you build that for you so you can continually move forward?
Yeah. I think I'm passionate about building a business. Like it's fun to me. I like seeing our business grow and change. I like, teaching employees and I like having our team feel like a team and really trying to create a culture and environment where people feel like they can trust and rely on each other. Um, and that's important to me, and I think especially since our team is all remote, it's a hard thing to do. So I like the challenge of trying to keep the business going, keep adapting. I mean, we've been through a lot, like, you know, COVID and changes and all kinds of stuff. So I like the wild ride. I like the change and the not knowing what my next day is going to look like necessarily. Um, and I like being able to have the flexibility of owning my own business. Like I like not having, a boss necessarily to report to. I like being able to try new things when I want to try new things, and the flexibility of it all. So
I love that.
So, as a leader and a founder, how do you balance the creative side of events while also the operational realities of running the business?
so I feel like we haven't really talked about my business partner much, but my business partner Mary, she's the one that makes everything run behind the scenes. So she's the logistical mastermind, and I'm the creative person who I have lots of creative ideas, but you know sometimes they just don't work, right? They logistically don't work. So I think having a good team in place where you can say we're not afraid to come up with new ideas. There's no stupid idea. There's no we can brainstorm and throw things out there and see what sticks and what doesn't. But then when we're going to go with something, we have a good logistical and operational process in place that allows us to make sure that it executes, right? Because if it doesn't execute, then it was a stupid idea because it's not going to give you what you wanted or what our clients want.
Awesome. So we're seeing a world right now where hybrid, virtual, AI powered tools, especially in the events world, right? So what's the hardest thing founders and event professionals need to embrace or avoid really right now in this today's landscape?
Yeah. Um, I would say avoid being resistant to change. I know, um, you know, everyone has their own way of working, and especially when you work in high pressure environments with lots of moving parts, you kind of have your process in place and it's a bit scary to come outside of that process. But there's a lot of tools out there right now, especially with AI that can help you streamline your business and can really help you get more bang for your buck. um, and I think if you don't adopt them, the reality is you'll probably be left behind and there'll be agencies that can just do things faster and better than you. So not being scared to learn again, to watch a YouTube video, to Google and chat GPT everything, and just try to, you know, try to come to it with an excitement, because it is an exciting time.
Yeah. How do you stay ahead of trends without losing that human touch that makes experiences actually meaningful?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for trends, I think we are always adapting the experiences that we have in place. So if we're doing something virtually that's working really well, we kind of think, okay, how could we do that in person? How could we mold that to this format or this scenario? And then how could we tweak it a little bit for this client? And then we're constantly iterating. And I think when you're doing that, you innately stay ahead of the trends because you're kind of creating them as you go. And then, the events world, everyone is up for, sharing, collaborating. So we do a lot of brainstorming with our vendors as well. And I think just the more people you can have on board to share their creative ideas, the better.
I love it. So for founders and event leaders listening who feel stuck, which are there, I'm sure, a lot right now, what's that one hard thing that they should go do this week so they can really move the needle? What's an action item that they can walk away from and embrace right now?
Yeah. I would say get out of your spreadsheets. Like get out of the analysis paralysis and just go do something. If you have someone in your network that you know that you can go ask advice from, or maybe you can go to a networking event, or you can get out of your comfort zone and just start talking to people about your idea. I'm really big on just putting things out there, and funnily enough, it seems to work. I mean, knock on wood. But I feel like if you just kind of go for it, doors will open for you. So don't feel like you have to have a business plan in place or a spreadsheet that has your next 5 years mapped out, or just go for it. It'll all be fine.
I love that. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for joining the show. We've had great conversations, love everything that you've brought up, and I'm excited for our audience to hear this. Who's the best person that should reach out to you, and where should they look to reach out to you?
So if you're working, if events aren't your number one job, and there's something that's on your plate right now that you're just dreading to do, or you don't have time to do, or you want to be doing them better, you should talk to our team, because they can take the pressure off, and ultimately they can do more for your next event. Come to our website.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We're so happy that you were with us on the show, and we can't wait to get this out to our audience members.